Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to crack the code on something that trips up so many new Python programmers, function parameters. They might seem a little mysterious at first, but trust me, by the end of this, you'll have a few super simple rules to make it all click. Let's do this.
You know the feeling, right? You've spent time writing this beautiful piece of code. You feel like a total genius. You hit run, and then nothing. Or worse, a big red error message. It is so frustrating. But you know what? More often than not, the culprit is just a tiny mix-up with your function.
So today, we're going to be code detectives. We're going to lay down the rules of the function, see what a perfect call looks like, and then investigate two classic cases. What happens when arguments go missing, and what happens when you get them swapped around. And yeah, we'll even solve the mystery of those empty parentheses. Okay, first things first, functions can seem kinda scary, right? Like these big, complex beasts, but really, they're just little machines that follow a very clear set of rules. And once you know the rules, you're the one in control. The absolute best way to think about this is like a contract. When you define a function, you're basically writing out a contract that says, hey, to use me, you've got to give me these specific pieces of information. So when you call that function later, you have to honor the contract. You got to give it exactly what it asked for.
So what does it look like when you follow that contract perfectly? Let's take a look at the ideal scenario, when everything just works and your code runs like a dream.
First, we got to get our vocabulary straight, because this is super important. A parameter, that's the placeholder variable you use when you're defining the function. An argument, on the other hand, is the actual value you give the function when you call it. So think of the parameter like an empty box, and the argument is the thing you actually put inside that box.
Let's see this in action. In the function definition of top, number and color are our parameters. They're the placeholders. Then, down in the function call, the number 99 and the string yellow are our arguments, the real values. Python sees this and just connects the dots. Easy.
So you see the flow, right? 1, you define your function with its parameters. 2, you call it with arguments that match. 3, Python connects that first argument to the first parameter, the second to the second, and so on. If it all lines up, success. Your code runs perfectly. But we all know it doesn't always go that smoothly, do we? So let's put on our detective hats and investigate our first case, the mystery of the missing argument. All right, Exhibit A. Here's our buggy code. We're calling our drawCircledNumber function, but we've only given it one argument, the number 99. Now, we know from its contract that it's expecting two things. Something is definitely missing here. So take a second. Think like the computer. The function's contract clearly asked for a number and a color. We only gave it a number. What do you think Python is about to complain about? And there it is, a type error. Now, these error messages can look a little intimidating, but they are your best friend when you're debugging. Seriously, Python isn't just yelling, it's broken. It's giving you a huge clue. It tells you exactly what's wrong. You're missing the argument for the color parameter.
And that, my friends, leads us to our first golden rule. It's so simple. The number of arguments in your function call has to match the number of parameters in its definition. If it asks for 2, you give it 2. The numbers have to match.
All right, on to our next case. This one's a little sneakier. We're giving it the right number of arguments this time, but the code still crashes. Let's figure out why. Take a look at this line. We're calling the function with yellow and 99. So that's 2 arguments. The count is correct. So what could possibly be the problem? This is a really good puzzle. We followed our first rule. The number of arguments matches the number of parameters. So why isn't it working? What else could possibly be wrong? And here is the aha moment. See, Python isn't a mind reader. It doesn't know yellow as a color. It just matches things by their position. So it takes the first argument, yellow, and assigns it to the first parameter, number. Then it takes the second argument, 99, and assigns it to color. And of course, the program crashes when it tries to use the number 99 as a color. This brings us to our second golden rule, and it's a big one. It's not just about how many arguments you have, it's about their order. The first argument goes to the first parameter, the second to the second, and so on down the line. Order is absolutely crucial. Okay, time for our final and maybe simplest rule. What about those functions that don't need any information at all? The ones with no parameters in the definition? Look at this comparison. On the left, we call the function with empty parentheses, draw circles, and it works. On the right, we just write the function's name, and, well, nothing happens. Why is that? Here's the key. Those two little parentheses, they are the Go button. They're the universal signal in Python that says, execute this function, run it now. If you leave them off, you're not actually telling the function to run, you're just pointing at it. It's like pointing at a hammer instead of actually swinging it. So let's wrap it all up. We've cracked the case, and here are the 3 golden rules we've uncovered. First, the number of arguments must match the number of parameters. Second, the order of your arguments must match the order of the parameters. And third, you always use parentheses to actually call a function, even if there's nothing inside them.
Getting these rules down is a total game changer in your coding journey. You've just turned some really confusing errors into clear, simple knowledge. So the only question left is, with this new power to build functions that work every time, what amazing things are you going to build next? Happy coding!